Welcome to the NC Spin After Spin. Additional comments from our panelists just available on our website. I want to ask our panelists, what do you wish you'd have said on last week's show, but you didn't? John Hood, we'll start with you.
Well, I was hoping we were going to have an elaborate discussion of the voucher decision that was going to be in front of the Supreme Court. Since we have one of the attorneys here, we could hear all of his arguments ahead of time. But what I was going to say is I made a reference at the end of the show about legislative gains in the nation. And there's even some indication when you look at county governments and school boards, sheriffs across the South, across the Midwest, Republicans have obtained a great deal more authority in state and local government than they have had really since the early 1920s. They could blow it, and the next few years may be rough as some of them learn the ropes of a new job. But this is a sea change in American government, and it's really a problem that so much of our attention is on Washington and Congress, which I'm not sure either party can really fix right now, when the real action, the reforms, the arguments to and fro, the right versus the left, that's really happening in a much more interesting way in state capitals and in localities.
Bob Orr, what do you wish you'd said?
Well, I wish the Shaftesbury lunch crowd at Locke would invite me over to talk about the voucher issues, and you will get a preview of our arguments at the Supreme Court. Actually, it goes back to the marriage issue and the authority of magistrates. The statute sets up two pools of individuals, magistrates and ministers, who are authorized to perform marriages. There's no reason why you couldn't legislatively, without getting into religious freedoms or anything like that, pull magistrates out of that pool and create a much broader group of individuals authorized to perform marriages, and you get government sort of out of that.
So you take the problem away.
You take the problem away.
Rufus, what do you wish you'd have said?
I wish we'd talk a bit more about separation of powers. That was what I sort of studied with Sam Urban with the Judge Orr here. I think we've gotten out of kilter in North Carolina. I think the legislature has always been extremely powerful in North Carolina. It goes back to the colonial days when we did not like royal power. We were the last state to give governor veto. But at the same time, you only need to look at where we are creating boards and commissions, and the legislature is stacking it with their own folks. Well, where's the allegiance going to be? It's going to be to the people that appointed you to it. So I think we're all out of kilter, and Governor McCrory is going to have to really get with it and start acting like Jim Hunt and get some of those fellows in there and say, look, I'm the governor. I'm going to be the executive officer. You mind your legislating, and I'll do the executive work.
We saw the evidence of that this week when the State Board of Education has filed a lawsuit asking that they be exempted from the Rules Committee.
Totally.
And what kind of crazy lawyer would file something like that?
I would.
Shameless.
I would. And they want to be exempted from it. The Constitution exempts them from the authority of the rules.
There you go, hanging on details again, Bob.
I know.
All right.
Well, the Constitution, they don't pay any attention to it, the things I brought up here lately. They let all those things stay in there.
This much is out of control. Tell us something you wish you'd have said.
We've talked a lot on this program in the last few weeks before the election, after the election, and about gerrymandering. We can disagree about what impact it had on the election. It certainly had a significant impact in my view. We have a relatively equally divided state. We have 10 Republicans now and 3 Democrats in the state house. But I think an interesting development recently was Governor McCrory said in a televised interview that legislative gerrymandering actually makes his job more difficult. And I think a lot of us who believe we ought to turn this over to an independent commission hope that means the governor will use some of his influence to help push a bill in the General Assembly this year to set up an independent redistricting process, which they do in Iowa and some other states, which I think would go a long way toward helping voters feel more involved in their democracy.
Well, thanks for watching the After Spin. More video all during the week on ncspin.com.